The Ankh. This symbol is the oldest symbol in the world. It is dated to have existed since around 250,000 years ago, before the mythological story of Adam and Eve. What you're seeing on your screen is older than all the characters mentioned in the Old and the New Testament. The ancient Africans wore and carried this symbol because it signifies life, procreation, and electromagnetism, particularly a lamp of electricity. I will explain. Our African ancestors were the first to establish the first mystery schools where they communicated with the universe and nature. In these mystery schools, people all over the world came to Africa to receive their early education by learning on the feet of the ancient Africans. Now, the Ankh is not a cross, as many will assume. The cross is an European cum Roman symbol for death, crucifixion, suffering, brutality, and homosexuality. Meanwhile, the Ankh is the symbol, the key, and the source of life and procreation. It is the opposite of the cross. The cross symbolized death, while the Ankh symbolized life. The Ankh represents the coming together of the male and female to produce or to procreate life. Our African ancestors understood that a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, cannot create life, except when the masculine and the feminine comes together. This was the unity of the male and female entities in African spirituality. The reason why there is a gender pandemonium and fracas today in Africa is simply because Africans of this generation are blinded not to see and not to know their African history and spirituality. A true African will never be a feminist, and a true African will never be a patriarch. A true African woman will never advise any woman to dislike men, and a true African man will never tell any man to dislike women. This practice is absolutely alien to Africans because our African ancestors understood that both genders play different and compatible roles for the progress and development of the society. Just because a woman is submissive to a man does not mean she is a slave, or just because a man is leading does not mean he is a patriarch. Our society is now so corrupted by social media that the core values of both feminine and masculinity are dying every day. On the other hand, the Ankh was also a lamp of electricity carried by our ancient African ancestors, which is why if you meticulously look at the ancient walls in Egypt and Sudan, you will see the Africans carrying the Ankh wherever they go to. The Ankh, which is a lamp of electricity, was recharged with what the African Egyptians called the jet pillar. I will explain. The jet pillar can be found in a place in Egypt known as Dendera, and Dendera is the temple of Hathor or Het-Heru. The jet pillar was the first electric battery invented by our African ancestors as a battery that is used to recharge the lights in the Ankh, which simply means that our ancient African ancestors were into the science of electromagnetism, particularly electricity, for thousands of years before the Europeans were known in history around 833 BCE, when Homer, a Greek European, wrote the first two books of Europe titled the Iliad and the Odyssey. Because a people are known in history only when they started writing, and it was in 833 BCE we knew of the Europeans. Meanwhile, our African ancestors have already built the pyramids from the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th dynasty of Egypt. When the Africans started building the first pyramid, which is named the Step Pyramid of Djoser, which is still in existence in a place in Egypt named Saqqara, through the first multi-genius named Imhotep around 2780 BCE for his pharaoh, Pharaoh Djoser. The Europeans were still in the ice, that is in the ice age, inside their cave, hunting animals and eating them raw without fire. Because you must understand that There was no fire in Europe during this time because there was no sun due to the Ice Age, which started around 55,000 years ago. The symbol of Heru or Horus, the first Christ born through an immaculate conception, which is the falcon bird, is over 60,000 years old. First known not in Egypt, but in Ethiopia and Sudan, in a place known as Tarseti, where it was recorded that 12 black pharaohs reigned in Tarseti for at least 200 years before the first pharaonic dynasty in Egypt, which started with Nama. This means that when you hear the name Pharaoh, it never began in Egypt, but in Sudan. In fact, the Africans never called their kings or monarchs pharaohs. What we call pharaoh today was known by the Africans as the Nusibiti, which simply means a king or a monarch. Till today, I, Ebenezer Heru, the voice of the untold African history, I am still wearing and rocking the Ankh because it represents my roots as an African man. Are you wearing yours? If you don't have it and you want to buy yours and you don't know where to get it, you can send a message to my DM right now so that we can arrange for you to get yours. Don't also forget to get the following books to help you to know more of the untold African history. We have The Untold History of the Black Race and the Fall of African Civilization, General History of Africa, They Came Before Columbus, the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Papyrus of Ani. This was the first holy book in the world before the Bible and before the Quran. We have The Destruction of Black Civilization, The 12th Planet, about the Anunnaki beings from Nibiru, the books of Enoch, about the watchers or fallen angels who came to earth and had intimacy with earthly humans and procreated the Nephilims or the giants of old who brought tribulations to the human race, and many more that will keep you astonished, flabbergasted, and bewildered after reading voraciously. Send a message to my DM right now if you are interested to buy your own copy. I say,